In the absolute darkness, 2,000 meters below the Pacific surface, something impossible drifts through water so cold it should freeze your blood. It's longer than a blue whale, thinner than your broomstick, and it shouldn't exist. Not like this. Not as one thing, yet thousands of things, all thinking, hunting, moving as a single consciousness woven from the fabric of nightmares. Scientists who first hauled fragments of these creatures from the deep thought they'd caught nothing but formless gelatin. They couldn't have been more wrong. What they'd discovered was perhaps the most alien intelligence our planet has ever produced. A living string of cooperative horror that challenges everything we thought we knew about what it means to be alive. Imagine a transparent rope stretching 160 feet through absolute darkness, every inch of it alive, pulsing, waiting. This is the Siphonophore, the string of horror colossus, and it represents one of evolution's most disturbing masterpieces. The story begins nearly 600 million years ago, in ancient seas where simple organisms called hydrozoans drifted through warm waters. They were nothing special, just small polyps with tentacles and stinging cells. But some discovered something revolutionary. Instead of breaking apart after budding, they stayed connected. They formed colonies. Corals took this path and built empires of stone. But one lineage took a different road entirely. They didn't just stay connected, they specialized. They surrendered their individuality for something greater, something that would eventually spawn the longest animals ever recorded on Earth. This is how Siphonophores were born, not as individuals, but as colonies that became something far stranger. They exist in a space between definitions, a biological nightmare that rewrites the rules. Over millions of years, these colonial creatures refined their design with ruthless efficiency. From a single fertilized egg, a protozooid emerges and begins to bud, creating copies of itself. But not identical copies. Each new zooid develops with a specific function burned into its genetic code. Some become nectophores, pulsing bells that propel the entire colony through crushing darkness. Others transform into gastrozooids, nothing but mouth and stomach and venomous tentacle, existing only to feed the whole. Dactylozooids emerge as pure defense, armed tentacles without mouths. Gonozooids exist only to reproduce, and transparent bracts form as living shields, protecting vulnerable feeding polyps. These zooids cannot survive alone. Remove a nectophore, and it dies, unable to feed. Separate a gastrozooid, and it sinks, unable to swim. They are not individuals. They are organs of a distributed body, a mind spread across 100 feet of gelatinous string, all sharing one circulatory system, one nervous network, one purpose: survive, hunt, replicate. The pressures of the deep sea shaped these creatures into something that defies comprehension. At depths of 700 to 1,000 meters, the pressure reaches 460 times that of the surface. This pressure literally holds the Siphonophore's hydrostatic skeleton together. Bring one to the surface, and it doesn't just die. It explodes, bursting into formless gelatin. For over a century, fishermen hauled up these gelatinous blobs in their nets, never knowing they'd destroyed one of the largest animals on Earth. But the pressure is only the beginning. The temperature hovers just above freezing. There is no light, none. No photon has reached these depths in 400 million years. It is a void, an alien world that exists on our own planet. And in this impossible environment, the string of horror colossus doesn't just survive. It thrives as the apex ambush predator of the midwater. In 1987, researchers at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute achieved something extraordinary. Using remotely operated vehicles, they observed living siphonophores in their natural habitat. What they saw changed everything. The giant siphonophore, Praia dubia, arranges itself as a long, transparent stem suspended vertically in the water column. At the top, its nectophores pulse in synchronized rhythm. The stem itself is almost invisible, a whitish thread stretching down into darkness. But along this stem, hundreds of tentacles extend outward, each trailing downward with thousands of stinging tentilla, creating a deadly curtain suspended in the void. The siphonophore doesn't chase its prey. It hangs motionless, tentacles deployed in a vast fishing net. And then it waits. In an environment where food is scarce, patience isn't a virtue, it's survival. The creature maintains this position for days, its transparent body invisible in the darkness. It is a ghost, a trap made of flesh. Each tentilla contains 4 different types of nematocysts, each a precision weapon designed for a specific purpose. When prey brushes against these tentacles, thousands of nematocysts fire simultaneously in less than a millisecond, faster than a bullet. The prey is paralyzed instantly, multiple toxins flooding its nervous system. Then the tentacle recoils, pulling the victim toward waiting gastrozooids, where it will be consumed and its nutrients distributed through the colony's shared system to feed every zooid. But in the deepest waters, where prey is especially rare, some siphonophores evolved something that crosses into deception. They learned to lie. In 2005, researcher Stephen Haddock made a shocking discovery. While studying siphonophores from the genus Arena at depths below 1,600 meters, he noticed they were glowing red. Not blue or green, but red. In the entire ocean, only one other creature had ever been found producing red bioluminescence. Why red? Because most deep-sea creatures are blind to long wavelengths. Red light is invisible to them, a secret frequency. But Arena wasn't using its red glow for stealth. It was using it as bait. Haddock watched as the siphonophore's tentilla began to twitch, flicking back and forth in rhythmic motions. At the tip of each tentilla, a red glowing blob pulsed with light, shaped exactly like copepods, the tiny crustaceans that form the foundation of the deep-sea food chain. The siphonophore was creating perfect lures. As fish approached, drawn by what appeared to be an easy meal, they swam directly into the invisible curtain of stinging tentacles. The creature had weaponized mimicry. It had become the ultimate fisher, dangling false hope in a world where hope is the most precious commodity. In April of 2020, during an expedition off Western Australia, scientists encountered something that defied belief. Operating an ROV at 600 meters, their cameras picked up a shape in the water. As they moved closer, reality became clear. They were looking at what might be the longest animal ever recorded. A siphonophore, possibly of the genus Apolemia, had arranged itself in a massive spiral. The outer ring measured approximately 47 meters in circumference. The team estimated the total length at over 150 feet. This single organism was longer than a blue whale, longer than any dinosaur, longer than any creature in the fossil record. And it was alive, drifting in perfect formation, its spiral design creating an even more effective trap. The discovery raised profound questions. How long can these creatures actually grow? Is there a theoretical limit? The truth is, we don't know. We've barely explored 5% of the ocean. And in those unexplored depths, there could be siphonophores of unimaginable size, drifting through darkness, waiting. The mystery deepens when we consider their evolutionary resilience. While dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago, siphonophores have persisted. They survived mass extinctions, ice ages, every catastrophe the planet has thrown at them. Why? Because they occupy a niche almost immune to surface-level disasters. The deep sea is a refuge, a time capsule where evolution moves at its own pace, undisturbed by chaos above. But their survival strategy goes beyond location. It's their colonial nature itself that provides resilience. Damage a siphonophore, and it doesn't necessarily die. Individual zooids can be lost without destroying the colony. They're modular, redundant, built with biological backup systems. This isn't just an animal. It's a distributed intelligence, a swarm consciousness with no central brain, no single point of failure. Yet for all their success, siphonophores remain mysterious. How long do they live? Years? Decades? We don't know. How do they find mates in the vast darkness? We're not sure. Do they communicate across distances? The truth is lost in the abyss. Modern scientists are racing to answer these questions using advanced genetic analysis and autonomous underwater vehicles with high-definition cameras, documenting species never seen alive. These studies have revealed breathtaking complexity. The swimming bells use jet propulsion with efficiency surpassing human engineering. Each bell is controlled by a simple nerve net, yet somehow they all synchronize perfectly, coordinating with split-second timing. The colony moves as one. It's a living machine, biological clockwork, operating in the dark. But the most profound discovery may be what siphonophores reveal about consciousness and individuality. When is a colony an individual? When does cooperation become a single entity? Siphonophores challenge our definitions. Each zooid is genetically identical, descended from a single egg, sharing the same DNA. But they've differentiated into wildly different forms with different functions. It's exactly what happens in your own body. Your heart cells and brain cells all have identical DNA, yet they're completely different. The difference is scale. In a siphonophore, specialization happened at the organism level. The colony is a body made of bodies, an organism made of organisms. Some researchers believe studying siphonophores could unlock secrets about cancer, about how cells maintain cooperation, about what happens when that cooperation breaks down. Humans developed complex regulatory mechanisms to suppress cellular rebellion. When those fail, we call it cancer. Siphonophores have maintained colony integrity for hundreds of millions of years. What's their secret? The answer could revolutionize medicine. Consider the possibility: a creature with no central brain, yet capable of complex behavior. A colony that can lose half its members and continue functioning. An organism that can sense chemical gradients, detect pressure changes, perceive bioluminescent signals across vast distances. Is it conscious? Does it think? It doesn't have neurons arranged like ours, but it clearly processes information. It makes decisions. It's intelligent in a way we're only beginning to comprehend, a distributed cognition that operates without a command center. The string of horror colossus represents a fork in evolution's road we didn't take, an alternative solution to survival. Instead of centralizing control in a brain, they distributed it across a network. It's a viable path, proven for 600 million years. And while human civilization teeters on the edge of climate catastrophe, siphonophores continue to hunt in the darkness, unchanged, untroubled, immortal in their simplicity. The deep sea contains 300 times more living space than all terrestrial environments combined. And in that vast darkness, creatures like the siphonophore have carved out dominion. They're not rare. They're abundant, thriving, quietly ruling their lightless kingdom. But their ecological importance is matched by vulnerability to threats we're only starting to understand. Climate change is warming the ocean, altering currents, shifting prey distributions. Deep-sea mining threatens habitats unchanged for millions of years. Plastic pollution reaches even the deepest trenches. For all their evolutionary resilience, siphonophores evolved in a stable environment. Rapid change is the one challenge they may not be prepared for. In the end, the string of horror colossus forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The ocean is not empty. The darkness is not dead. The creatures that inhabit the abyss are sophisticated, successful organisms that have mastered their environment with completeness we can barely fathom. They represent millions of years of evolutionary refinement, biological solutions to problems we're only learning to articulate. They're aliens that share our planet, neighbors we've never met, living proof that Earth still holds mysteries that can shatter our understanding. Somewhere, right now, in the crushing darkness of the mesopelagic zone, a siphonophore over 100 feet long is drifting through water so cold it would kill you in minutes. Its tentacles are spread, its zooids functioning in perfect synchronization, and it's waiting, patient, timeless. A ghost made of cooperative flesh. A living string of nightmares that has hunted these depths since before the first fish learned to see. It doesn't know you exist. It doesn't care about human civilization, about our science, about our fear of the unknown. It simply is. And maybe that's the most profound lesson the siphonophore has to teach us. Life doesn't need our permission to be strange. The universe of possibility is far larger than we imagine, and in the darkness beneath our feet, separated from our world by a few thousand meters of water and millions of years of evolutionary divergence, there are creatures that would seem like hallucinations if we didn't have video evidence of their existence. They're real, they're thriving, and they're waiting in the abyss, reminding us that we've barely begun to explore our own planet, that mysteries remain, that wonder and terror still swim in the deep places, patient as death, older than memory, stranger than dreams.